Hello there. Two of my colleagues asked me today for some advice for how to actually remove the audio from a video file and replace it with your own voiceovers. So I figured I'll just create this quick video here to show you the principal approach, how we're going to remove audio from a video file and then add our own voiceovers and re-encode that whole thing to a new video file. Because we at RMIT here have a small tool called Adobe Premiere Rush that suits this purpose, we're going to use that tool today. But the general principles are mostly going to be the same in any other video editing software. So even if you use a different tool, you may find the second half of this video still to be useful if you need help with replacing the audio. So with that, the first thing that we're going to have to do is find the software that we're going to be using. So we would be looking for Adobe Creative Cloud. And in there, we can now log in with our RMIT account. So log in, type in your email address, and then it's going to take you to RMIT's login page. You log in with your credentials there. With that, we can now go to the Web Services, Creative Cloud. And this now brings us to creativecloud.adobe.com. And here we can actually find different apps. And the app we would want to use is Premiere Rush. So if you don't have it installed on your PC yet, you will have an install button here. And you basically download and install the software from that web page on your computer. I probably should mention that depending on which link you're going through when you search for Adobe Creative Cloud, the interface sometimes looks a little bit different. So if you're on this page, you still have to log in, and you then go to Creativity and Design, and you can go to the Download and Install section, and then download the application from here. So we find Premiere Rush down here. So you download it and install it. So with Adobe Premiere Rush installed, we can now actually open the application. And now we would want to create a new project. So we click on Create a New Project. We give a name to that project. And then we may want to also check the project setup. So you may want to stick to 16:9 ratio. You can change that ratio. With the ratio selected, we can now click OK. And now we're going to load our video file into that project. So we first would have to actually select the video file. So I'm going to search for a file here. Just take an old video, an old one that I know is short. And now with the file selected, I can click Create. It's now going to load that video file into my project. And with that, I now actually see my video file being added to the timeline down here. And additionally, you can also see the audio track that's associated with that video file. If you want to have more specific control over the audio track, you can actually click with the secondary mouse button on your video track and separate the audio. So that would allow you to then cut sections of the audio and treat that audio file separately from the video over here. You would then actually also want to mute that video file. So to do that, you go into the audio section here and you basically mute the entire clip. So with that, we could do the same down here because we don't want any of the audio. So I didn't even need to separate the audio out there. So I can delete that again, or I could have muted it. And now instead of actually having that audio that was associated with the video file, I can now actually add new audio to it. To do that, I would first of all have to select my microphone. So let's go to Preferences, and in the Preference section you see your audio output and your audio input. I'm gonna pick a different audio input here, just because I'm using this microphone here right now for recording the video that you're watching. So I pick a different microphone, and I can then say OK. And now the next step is to add a new audio track. So to do that, I can click here on Control Tracks, and you see there are some default audio tracks here. So what I want to do now is I want to go to the correct time in my video where I want to start the recording. I want to now actually focus on one track for the recording. So I select the microphone there. And next, I can now tap the record button here to actually start the recording. As you can see, it actually now gives me a countdown timer, and once that has passed, it actually starts recording. Once I'm done with the recording, I can actually press that button to stop the recording. And the next thing that I can now do is actually select that recording. If I want to listen to it again, I just move to the correct time. I can also just go all the way back to the previous edit point, and I can press the spacebar, for example, to start the recording. And once that is passed, it actually starts. And pressing the spacebar again stops that recording or pauses it at the time. If I want to change the audio slightly, I can select the audio file here, and I can actually go into my audio section again, and I can play around with the type of audio. I can change the background noise settings, so reduce the background noise, for example, and enhance speech. So you can play around with some of these things to see what actually sounds best in your specific circumstances. So if I made a mistake in my recording, what I would suggest is that you don't delete the recorded track. Instead, you may want to focus on a different track, start the recording here. Of course, if you don't want to hear your previous voiceover, you want to mute that previous track. I can now start recording my new voiceover. And so if I make mistakes in different takes, I can basically switch between these different takes. I can now fix the recordings. So if I, for example, made a mistake in my voiceover in this part over here, I can now split that. So I move the time indicator to the correct spot where I want to now cut my audio. I go to split the audio. And so what it does is it actually now creates two different parts of that voiceover. I can then delete the part that I don't want to listen to. I can keep the other part. Maybe I want to take sections out of this out again. So I can split this again. And I can then even move these around as I need them to. Yeah? So once I'm done with my voiceovers, I want to make sure that I unmute all of the relevant tracks again. I keep the video file muted. So let's double check that again. so it's still muted. I have all of my other tracks unmuted, and I now can actually let me delete these here, because it really wouldn't make sense to have multiple voiceovers here in this case, because it's just going to be distracting if I hear two different takes of the same voiceover. But I can basically now save this. So to do this, go to local to save it on my local PC. I can give it the file a specific name. In the advanced settings, I have a little bit of control of the quality of the video file. So you see you've got different presets available. You can also change the resolution individually for your specific custom setting. You can change the frame rate, the audio channels, and the overall quality. And once I'm happy with that, and I'm sure I like the location where I'm going to save that file, I can basically press export. This is now going to take a while depending on the file size of your overall video and audio. What it now does, it simply combines the video and the audio files into one video file. And so now I'm basically done. So now I can actually find that file in the folder where I've saved it, and I can use it for different purposes. I hope you found this helpful. I wish you all the best. Thanks for listening.